Welcome back to the OKC Foodcast, your guide to the food in Oklahoma. As always, I'm Nabil. As always, I haven't changed. And I'm joined by 4 people, 2 co-hosts,
Christina
and Josh,
and our special guests today from New State Burgers,
Tyler Monty
and Jordan Harris.
So excited to have you 2 on. I think we've like danced around doing an episode for a while.
finally making it happen.
Finally making it happen. And man, if you all haven't had New State, you will definitely be running to it after this episode because we're going to be talking all New State. But first, what's the favorite thing everyone ate this week? It's always interesting to find out what people have eaten. Like gives you an interesting insight into people's habits.
Yeah, because it's like it's going to be something really cool that you've never had before, or it'll be like, oh gosh, what's that one thing I have every single time?
Right, exactly.
Like,
you start to figure out how predictable you are.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I had the same thing I had last week. So.
Sometimes I have to think about, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to talk about this on the podcast. So maybe I should change this up a little bit. But who wants to start off?
Josh, want to go?
I'll go first. I'll get mine out of the way because mine was...
That's exciting.
Yeah, not to ruin expectations here, but actually mine was, it was great tasting, horrible execution on the visual part of this meal. It was actually last night. I was starving, and it was one of those classic husband moments where you look everywhere and you say, there's no food in the house, and there's a lot of food in the house. You just have to prepare for it.
I'm laughing because I heard the story.
Yeah, I told Nabil about this. So last night, the kids had we had made some popcorn for the kids, and I was like, I need something more. And I started to get the little itch of like, I've got to make something. I've got to, I've got my creative juices going, and so I look around.
By the way, usually Josh's kids are really well fed.
Yeah,
it's just a day for popcorn.
Yeah, it was just the day for popcorn. That's right. Yeah, thank you. No need to report me. No, but it was. Thank you, Nabil.
Yeah, I'm just looking out for you then.
So, I decided I was going to make some pasta, and I had an idea what I was going to do with the pasta. So I put it together. Knew it was going to need to chill for a while. So threw the ingredients together. It was just like a basic egg noodle that I made. Put it in the chiller. Well, not the chiller.
So you made the dough from you're making this from scratch.
This is from scratch. Just eggs, flour, some olive oil, some salt. It's pretty basic. Mix it all together. Looked great. The dough looked great. Put it in the refrigerator to chill. And then I start looking for I thought we had a pasta machine somewhere. And no, we did not. So after about 30 minutes to an hour, I pull it out of the refrigerator, with a old-fashioned rolling pin, roll the pasta out. You cannot get the pasta thin enough. And I'll explain why here in a second, because I rolled, got it as thin as I thought I could, cut it into strips. I was trying to make a nice wide noodle. Well, it turns out when you throw that into the boiling water, it just balloons like crazy. And it did not look very appetizing at all. But the good part about it is they tasted great. They tasted great. And the whole reason I was going, this is a long story, sorry, but the whole reason I was going to make pasta was because my wife still had a package of homemade pesto that she had made last year. We had a gigantic basil bush that was in our front flower garden. If you've never grown basil, it goes crazy if you don't keep it under control. It was a wild basil bush.
But so delicious.
It's so good, and it made the best pesto. So some pesto or some basil, some garlic, some olive oil, some salt, just fantastic tasting. And I put that over my homemade noodles. It did not look good. I went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to put this on Instagram, on the Foodcast Instagram page. This is going to be fantastic. I'm going to show off. And That did not happen, but it tasted amazing. So that was the best thing I ate.
And your girls probably loved it so much.
They were already in bed by the time I finished. 'Cause
They had
this
their
took so
popcorn.
long. This took so long,
They-
and I
they
was so
had-
frustrated.
They had their quota of popcorn already. They were done.
They were- oh no.
That's right. So it tasted good. That's all that
Dang.
counts.
What
Well, I
did
mean,
it-
fresh pesto
Mm-hmm.
can't beat that.
and if she made it last year, did she just freeze it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she froze it, and we had a bunch of packets of it, and we've done all kinds of stuff with it. We've done it on chicken breasts and done it on other noodles before that were made with a pasta machine, so
Nice.
they didn't balloon.
What happened to the pasta machine?
Just
Where,
what
where is it?
I don't know. I thought that's a great question. I think it's gone, but I could not find it. So, yeah. So lesson learned.
Yeah, I've always heard that you could freeze your pesto like in ice cubes almost, so that way you could do them in like individual portions as
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Yeah.
I did that in ice cubes, but then they got freezer burn because they sat there for a little too long. And so I really want to get a vacuum sealer,
Oh.
Yeah.
That
and that'll
fixes it.
keep everything together very well. Hopefully, that's the thought.
Okay. Well,
So if anyone wants to give me a present,
vacuum sealer, and then one for Josh, his little pasta maker,
Yeah, give me a pasta maker.
so that he doesn't have to endure this nightmare again. Well, mine,
or a better rolling pin.
okay. Well, mine won't be that long or
Yeah, sorry. about
painful, but I haven't had pho in several months, and so this weekend I was just kind of chilling on my own. I can't remember. I was just running a bunch of errands on Saturday or Sunday, and I decided to go to Fokung, which is over there on Klassen and 36, I think. It's like the little greenhouse is what I call it. And I just like their pho thai, which has that raw steak, the little round steak that you put into the broth, and it just cooks in
It
the
just
broth.
cooks right in there.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of had a moment to myself, and it's very, I don't know, it was just so good. That's one of my, I would say that my eat of the week, that was my favorite eat of the week, for sure.
Nice.
Nostalgic, and also, it was really hot that day too. I'm like, oh gosh. Anyways.
He's laughing at me.
Nabil. Anyways. What's
That
your eat of the week?
sounds great.
Yeah.
My eat of the week was, this is something that I ate like 2 or 3 times this week. My mom marinated some chicken because she's trying to eat healthier, so she's just going like salad and chicken breast and stuff like that. And I was like, well, if someone's doing this, might as well get on board, right? I mean, this chicken, you can throw it on the grill, you can make it in a pan, you can bake it. Like, once it's marinated, obviously you can cook chicken whichever way you want. But it's marinated with yogurt, garlic, and the spice mix. And I think this one should put the Bihari Boti and chicken tikka spice mix. And usually, I mean, one of the most common ingredients is cumin and red chilies. And someone was going to ask me this question of what's in there. So I beat you to it, Josh. And probably some other stuff that I can't remember right now. But once it sits in that yogurt marinade for about a day, man, that chicken just becomes butter no matter how you cook it. Like, it just melts in your mouth. So that's what I was feasting on all of this week and last week. So
Nice. Where does your mom get her spice mixes?
from the Indian store. They are Shan spice mixes. So if you're ever in the mood of making some Pakistani flavored chicken, you can go there, get these spice mixes. You can marinate your either chicken or beef or lamb with these mixes. Sometimes you have to kind of play with it after you cook it, or when you test it and you're like, this is missing maybe a little bit of salt, or whoa, this is way too salty.
Oh, interesting.
So you gotta, they have become a little more consistent, but you'll still find some variants.
That's cool. Like, don't always trust what's in the like the prepackaged seasoning mix. Maybe try it first and then see what's
Right?
missing.
I
and then
mean,
add
would
to
you
it.
guys ever put anything on without tasting it? Sometimes.
Like at the restaurant or at home?
Anywhere.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I probably would like pre-test like if it was like a blend, like, hey, I got this new spice mix from Trader Joe's, like, yeah, I would maybe dip my finger in it and see what's happening. And I think, yeah, the key is to sometimes, like, when you're done cooking, is you might need to add back more seasoning. I find that for myself, like, I've cooked off some of that seasoning on the outer part of meat or whatever, and now I need to add back a little more for my own flavor profile.
Right.
Yeah, if you start too heavy, you can't take it off. But if you lightly season, then you can add more as you've tasted it.
Yeah, yeah. Because once it gets too salty, there's no coming back.
No.
That's right.
So, how about you two?
I was out of town this week, so I would say the favorite thing that I had was the bread pudding souffle at Commander's Palace with the whiskey cream anglaise. It's just an amazing dessert at an amazing restaurant in New Orleans. It's been around for many decades. It was part of the Brennan family. There's actually a really good documentary on Netflix. I don't think it's on there anymore, called Commanding the Table, that followed the life of Ella Brennan. And I've eaten there a few times, and we were traveling through there. So just an amazing presentation for dessert. Just one of the best, pretty much anywhere, honestly. So that was me.
Nice.
All right. So I had to check back to make sure I fell within the 1 week guideline, and I think I came in just right at the very edge of a week. Last Tuesday, my parents were in town, and we made a little day trip up to Guthrie to eat at Missy's Donuts. Oh. And I mean, if you guys haven't had Missy's Donuts, Tyler's the one who turned me on to it. I mean, they're incredible, and I'm a donut fiend, and I want to go everywhere I travel. I'm looking for that best donut, and in my opinion, hands down, the best donuts in the state. I would even say like surrounding states. Like really? I have to really think of a place that I think has better donuts. And another kind of like thing that I would say, hey, this is kind of not normally in my lane, is a apple fritter. But these apple fritters, like, I mean, these are raised donuts that like stay good the next day, right? Like, I've never had a donut that I'm like, oh, this is kind of suspect the second day. You like take that bite and you're like, not worth finishing this thing. Or maybe you put it back in the microwave to kind of soften it up. Right. These donuts, for whatever reason, like, they've got some kind of magic power that they stay good to me the next day. And I mean, that to me is a huge testament of like how good they are. So I highly recommend it if you guys haven't tried it.
Missy's Donuts in Guthrie.
Yeah, and they actually have a couple locations, but just a really cool team, and they're, I mean, like I said, just phenomenal donuts. So
nice.
I haven't oversold it.
They're good. Guthrie is a good destination to go to visit. I mean, I've been there a few times. I know during pre-pandemic, during Halloween, it's just such a fun place to go to. And then, of course, a lot of new places opening up over there.
Yeah.
But I've never actually been to this donut place, but I've tried them. Some friends have brought them for me here, and I've tried them. They're so good.
Nice. I need to try.
It's worth it.
I always have someone that comes in and is like, "Where's a good donut?" So I'm gonna have to go to Missy's next time.
Oh yeah,
they're outstanding.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the drive. Like, and there's so much, like, was mentioned earlier, like. There are things to do. I mean, get coffee at Hoboken. Now you have the Garden Club Spirits and their new bar, the Mac and Ike. Mm-hmm. That's another option up there. So I mean, it's just kind of a fun, and like I said, there's just some really unique little shops, so you can just kind of make a day of it.
Yeah.
So
I know they used to have a board game cafe. I don't know if it's still there. The Boarding House. I'm a huge board game fan, so I was just like, ooh, a board game cafe. Hey, that's fun.
Very cool.
Nice. That sounds fantastic. All right. I'm putting that on my list for this weekend. So, burgers. Super excited about this. But first, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how New State came to be in Oklahoma. Whoever wants to go. I know that was a long question. You're like, where do we begin?
Right. So, I guess I would start by saying that, like, Tyler and I, before New State was a thought, we had an idea to do some kind of a hospitality concept. And we were in business together prior to opening New State, and had the the great fortune to travel around and try some like great food, throughout the country, and sort of, use that as a like a vision board of what might be something that we would want to do someday. And so, that's kind of what started, in my mind, the journey to New State opening.
We actually had thought about doing a donut shop. we really had, and we actually were pretty serious, and we'd actually had an encounter with a chef in Austin, and we were pretty serious going down that road of doing this pastry concept. And then we kind of looked back and thought, well, at the end of the day, we don't know how to make a donut. I mean, we can make some donuts, but not, on a mass-produced scale and quantity. So we kind of backed off of that a little bit because, chefs sometimes can be notorious for being a little flighty. So, if a chef decides that they want to leave and we're stuck holding the bag, like, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we knew we could cook a burger. Nice. And so ultimately we ended up going with the burger concept because we knew if push came to shove that we could do that. And lo and behold, we had a pandemic, and here we are in the kitchen sometimes cooking burgers, and it's worked out, and we've got past all that. But it definitely helped that we had that skill set, that we knew that we could make this work if things didn't go the way we planned.
So did you remind me again, like, when did New State open? Was it right before the pandemic, or was it like when it was, it was in lockdown mode? Because I know there's some places that opened in lockdown, and I'm just like, whew, I mean, more power to them. That's tough.
Oh, very, very tough. I mean, we had the fortune of being open for about 6 months. We opened in July of 2019, so we'd, been open about 6 months whenever they closed the dining room. So we were still in our infancy, but we had, just enough under our belt to kind of have the word out about New State. But then, I mean, really, we just kind of went into overdrive to try to spread the word whenever that happened.
Yeah, and I know you all were doing some innovative stuff of your to-go bags, and especially during brunch and things like that. So that was cool to see. It was very interesting to see how like everyone pivoted in a slightly different way and kind of made it their own to ride that takeout wave.
Yeah, we'd never done a breakfast sandwich, and literally within the first couple weeks, like, okay, we're selling breakfast sandwiches. We got those Martin's buns in, and we went with it, and we were selling, since they let us sell to-go alcohol, we were selling those combos with mimosas, with a bottle of orange juice and a bottle of champagne, and that really, I mean, people responded to that. They loved it.
Awesome.
They could come get their breakfast and a bottle of champagne and start their weekend off. So we tried to react pretty fast.
So how many months were you guys doing this like alternative way of still engaging with the people of Oklahoma City? Because I can't remember, like it just, time is kind of warped for me, like I look back and I say how many months have passed since the beginning of the pandemic, right. And now I feel
we're already in July.
Yeah, 2021. So
alternative as in doing the closed dining room and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they closed it down in March, and then we had some air conditioner issues, so we kind of softly reopened our dining room after they opened things up, but we didn't really advertise it until we got our air conditioner situation taken care of, because, I mean, there was a time where it was 90 degrees in there, and we didn't want people coming in off the pandemic hot, and then telling people, well, you can't go to New State, it's 90 degrees in there. So
man.
It was... it seemed like it was an eternity, but as it's probably just a few months.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, in the moment, it just seemed like, hey, this is what we had to do to get through, and we're fine. But now looking back, it seems like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we had to do all that. Now that things are kind of up and running again, it feels really good to have people out and have people having a good time, and it makes you just think, man, it's such a bummer that we had to endure that year, but we learned so much and we grew so much, and we're so much stronger now because of it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to hear kind of your perspective on the menu at New State, because I mean, all three of us have eaten at New State, and I think the thing that just struck me immediately when I sat down was, and I don't mean this in a bad way, the simplicity of the menu. Like it's very apparent. Like the approach is most likely like do something and do it well. And you don't have to go above and beyond that. Like if you do something and do it well, that's what's going to make you successful. So I mean, you know, a fairly limited amount of burgers, limited amount of sides, and it's done well. So can you kind of talk through kind of the crafting of that menu and kind of the approach that y'all are looking at and have looked at?
So that's a great question, Josh. And when we opened, our menu was actually just a little bit larger than it is now.
Okay.
And we kind of curtailed that when we closed the dining room because we were having an issue. Like burgers have always been, the burgers and fries are just, I mean, that's the star of the show, right? That's in our name, you know, New State Burgers. And when we closed the dining room, some of the items that were, you know, still favorites. A lot of people really loved certain items, but they just weren't selling enough volume to make it worth it to keep them on the menu. And so we kind of like, you know, streamline the menu even more, and I think that paid off, and we've added back new items throughout that time as well. And so but I think you nailed it when you said, you know, try and do one thing well or do a few things well, and that's kind of what we pride ourselves in. And like I said, the name New State Burgers and Spirits, I mean, we have 400 unique spirits, and you can make that burger in a number of ways. So like there's this misnomer, well, you see one burger on the menu, but there's unlimited ways to like customize it, right? So like you may see a place that has like, hey, I have 10 signature burgers or 20 signature burgers, but we have a lot of those components that we can make. You know, it's like the idea of like a permutation or whatever the math problem is, where you can just add or subtract one thing and create new stuff. And the other fact is that we have a small space, a small kitchen. So the limited menu is kind of born out of necessity. Like we don't have space to store a lot of other things. So we kind of run, like everything is really like a lean operation, even down to the number of people that we have on a daily basis, like as far as staff goes. We just kind of run a really like a limited thing, but we found that it works for us.
I really like that space though. Like I was actually there earlier today because I just had a random day off today, so I was like, I'm gonna go eat at New State Burgers. So, and I was just like looking at the kitchen and the space, and it's like really small and intimate. And I feel like the bartender's not far. Like I can see her right here, and we're just talking. So, I like it. I love it. It's a good welcoming space.
Yeah, and talking about simple and doing it well, I mean, it was really well done.
Yeah.
You know, Josh and I went there for lunch, and we were both like, I mean, the burger, it's in your name, you do it really well, right? Like that flat top gives it that texture, and it's perfectly made, and it was simple. I was tempted to do like the fried egg and all that stuff, and I was just like, no, just do the simple one.
See if the burger can stand on its own.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
The baseline.
The baseline. Gotta get the baseline.
And the burgers are fantastic, but I have to compliment you on the fries.
Oh yeah.
Too. I mean, like, so when Nabil and I went there, I ordered. I got the hot hamburger, and just the way it is on the menu. Ordered that, and I said I'm gonna do a side of fries. And the bartender, she said, you know, well, there's fries that come on the burger. It's like, oh, okay, then never mind. I'm good to go. I'll just do the hot hamburger. Well, the burger comes, and it's fantastic, and it's got the fantastic fries on top. I finish it all, and I'm like, dang it, I should have gotten that second order of fries.
The extra fries.
Should have gotten the fries. So well done on the fries.
Those fries are really good. What do you season those with?
It's on you, Tyler. I plead the fifth on that.
It's kind of like a garlicky seasoning. But it really does elevate the fry.
Yeah.
The fries are, you know, they come out really crispy. They just have a really good texture to them. I love our fries. I think they're excellent, and they're even better when you put that house-made cheese sauce on top.
House-made cheese sauce.
I didn't see that on
Okay.
The cheese
overlooked it.
fries. Yeah, we make a cheese sauce in house that sweat some onions and jalapenos with some cream, and it's just there's a lot of flavor in the cheese sauce.
Sounds fantastic. I'm gonna have to get that next time.
Yeah,
Because
for
those
sure.
fries were crispy, and they were still fluffy, and they stood up to the gravy real well.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what I
so-
was shocked with, because I was mopping up the gravy with the fries, and you would still have the crispy outside, and yet the inside's still creamy and that fluffy. That's a great word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, the fries are amazing.
Yeah.
I try not to eat the fries too much, just because they're too easy to eat.
Man, those were good. So have you? Well, I had two questions kind of while we were talking about your menu and how it's evolved. What were some of the things that you took away? Because I can't recall your original menu. So what did you kind of alter there?
So we had a few things that kind of were pared away, if you will. We had steak frites on the menu when we first opened. It was a great cut, Terrace Major, a very flavorful steak. But again, there was a lot of there was a hidden cost behind that, and that was one that we weren't necessarily anticipating. So it just didn't make sense during the pandemic to have that. Although we are on the hunt to bring back something to replace that steak frites.
It slowed down the kitchen too, because it slowed down the kitchen because it took 20 minutes to cook the steak. So it just it created problems in the kitchen with that, and like Jordan said. And now, we want to bring steak back, but the price of beef is so high.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And additionally, we had a sandwich called the Statesman, and it was kind of like a elevated like Arby's sandwich almost, if you will. Like there was at first it started as the Terrace Major sliced, and then we kind of found a different substitute when that went away. That was like another roast beef substitute, and it was great. And there were people that would come and say, "I want the Statesman." That was another one of the things that people will ask about, but it's just like, it was somebody's favorite, but it just wasn't. It didn't produce the same numbers as the burger. And lastly, my favorite thing that kind of went away was the chicken thighs. We had these crispy chicken thighs that are, they're insane.
Oh,
and people still ask about them, and we've been on a hunt for that substitute product.
Yeah.
So we had to get rid of it during the pandemic, and then we wanted to bring it back, but yet we haven't found the right item yet to replace them with. And those were, before the pandemic, like that's what I would come in and eat every time. Yeah. Like that's what I wanted every time I was in the restaurant. They were so good.
Yeah, and when Jordan talks about the replacement, they were 3 thighs and they were a good size, but we wanted a little bit smaller thighs, so there could be 5 or 6, so that way they could be a little bit more shareable. And so we are working on trying to source the right size. But again, like everything right now is kind of turned upside down in food distribution and production. Chicken prices are just, they've more than doubled.
Wow. Gosh, it's so difficult because I feel like chicken is such a, it's such a classic that everybody loves. And then, but have you guys thought about like rotating some items in the menu, maybe like removing one and then bringing another classic back in, see if that could be, feasible in some way?
Yeah, I think it's like it almost could be like a greatest hits type thing. Like, hey, we've rotated this one off, and this is your chance to get this item back. But I think so. We have some friends that have a business down in the plaza, and they ask us all the time about when are the chicken thighs coming back. And it's almost like I would say it's almost like a weekly or every other week conversation that Tyler and I have. Like we need to get back to the menu and find a replacement for these things, because we want to offer a little bit wider variety than what's on there, but like I said, people just keep coming back for the burgers. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to we really leaned into that, and I think that was the right play.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there are people that said, hey, those chicken thighs are my favorite chicken in the city. People will say that kind of stuff to you, and it makes you think, like, we really need to get that back,
Yeah.
So when it comes to the burgers, you're cooking these burgers on a flat top, correct?
Yes, that's
So
right.
when you're cooking on a flat top, the blend of the meat is going to need to be one thing. On a grill, it's going to need to be one thing. Like what's the optimal blend in the burgers? That is it 80-20? Is it? I mean, what are you looking for to create that new state burger patty?
I mean, ultimately, it's like the freshness and making sure you're just, you're getting the perfect supply of beef. I guess I would say it's somewhat proprietary on our blend, but yes, you're going to get more flavor from a little more fat.
Sure.
At home, when I'm cooking a burger, or if I have the time, and I will grind my own meat and create my own blend, I like to go with about equal parts ground chuck, prime sirloin, and short rib. I just think it's a delicious blend, and I will cook those on a flat top. I've got a flat top at home, and that's how I've always liked to cook my burgers.
Yeah.
I grew up in El Reno eating onion fried burgers cooked on a flat top grill, so I'm just partial to that. But the blend is very important in making sure you've got fresh sourced beef, and it all starts with the quality of the product, and that's something that we have always prided ourselves on, is having premium ingredients. And Jordan was talking today about cooking a burger and using like a Kraft single on it. We use American cheese at New State, but we're not using Kraft, singles. We're using a premium American cheese, and it makes a huge difference. It just does. The bun, the way they're dicing and chopping the pickles, it creates a perfect little marriage there, where you're not getting just like a big bite of pickle in one bite and a big bite of onion in another bite. It's all blended together. And then with the Dijonnaise, and we're using we clarify our butter the bun, toast the bun. So people, when they talk about it's a simple burger, it is, but you have to pay attention to the details,
Right.
For sure.
and that's what makes it stand out.
Yeah.
Right.
The quality of the ingredients is so important, right? Are they locally sourced, or if they're brought in, like if you've done the research on where they're coming from, and the freshness of the vegetables and the bun. I mean, just every single detail.
Yes, 100%. So we talked a little bit earlier about the wonderful dinner that we did, and it was their line is called the Garden Club. So we did what we called a garden burger, and I went around getting heirloom tomatoes. We have tomatoes, but we don't serve a tomato on our burger. If somebody were to ask for lettuce and tomato, 100% we'll put that on there, but we don't serve it that way because I don't want to put a subpar tomato on your burger.
It wasn't something that you like scouted for the burger, right? It's just a tomato.
Correct. And but we did the garden party, and we served that burger with that tomato because it was delicious, it was flavorful, and it added to the whole makeup of the burger, where tomatoes, when they're not in season, it's just very difficult to source a tomato you'd be proud of.
So, and you all do lots of special menus and dinners, and like the Wonder Fork one, and you did a couple months ago. Again, talking about time being like this weird concept right now. You did a collaboration with Butcher Barbecue. Do you do, like, for example, the Wonder Fork one, did you change your patty at all? Or was it the same patty and then you were marrying that with different ingredients to pair with the Wonder Fork spirits?
We did use the same base patty that we normally use. But yeah, that's the fun part about doing these dinners. Tyler is the brains behind a lot of the like special menu items for things like that, and that's a chance to like express creativity. And so kind of goes back to the simplicity of the menu. Like that gives you the freedom, like that mental space to say, all right, what can we do if we're gonna do this? Like we're gonna try and knock it out of the park this one night. you
Right.
know, and invent it each time. And so like it took, and you know, you guys were asking about the ingredients, like, okay, sourcing that. I mean, we went through so many tastings before we opened, like trying fry after fry after fry. You know what I mean? Like what, you know what I mean? And like, you know, this beef product, that beef product, you know, and then like trying to figure out what's the right thing. And so it's like, it wasn't like a happy accident, you know. I mean, we definitely tasted all these things and then kind of came to a consensus. The people that were there kind of got feedback from trusted sources, and yeah, so.
Like you said, trusted sources.
People that would tell us the truth. I think, you know,
I'm not going to just listen to anyone.
I mean, I think that's important, right? Like, you got to have like a wise counsel around you, you know, when you're trying to do something that, like, I mean, this is our livelihood, you know.
Someone
like,
that's going to call you out if, you know,
Yeah. So.
It's just so cool how like how we were saying, like a simple burger can be so complex, you know. A lot of research goes behind it.
Yeah, because I remember when I talked about this after I ate it, I was just like, it was simple, but everything was paid attention to.
Yeah.
You know, like the bite was perfect every time because of the dice, and it held together really well, which is a big thing for me whenever I'm eating a burger. I don't like it sliding around. And in fact, we talked about this a few episodes ago where I was like, sometimes I don't even like lettuce on my burger because it aids the slide. Yes. And I was just like, I don't like that.
Tyler agrees.
Yes, 100%.
We were debating about this earlier. So we were like, maybe you're not using the right lettuce, Nabil.
Maybe you just don't know how to eat your food.
It's got to hold it the particular way.
Grip strength, man. Come on. But yeah, so it was, I mean, hats off for a fantastic burger.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. What more can we say about that? Unless you want to tell us what's in the patty.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I tried.
But of course, appreciate all the kind of feedback. I never get tired of hearing
So
that.
what's the future hold for New State?
Yeah.
I mean, what's next? I mean, are there new menu items that you can tell us about? I mean, what?
Oh, they have a menu item that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely we've been kind of teasing the appearance of Detroit style pizza, and that's definitely coming. Again, this knowledge rests with Tyler. He's been spearheading this for about over a year now. We have pictures from back in March of 2020 where he started developing kind of his method of how he wanted to see it done at the restaurant, and it's seriously a labor of love. I can say that because I'm not the one doing it, but it seems like Tyler loves it. I mean, from the outside anyway. And yeah, this pizza, like, I mean, I try and be like, nah, I don't need to eat this when he's making them. You know, like, do you want a piece of this? And I'm like, nah, I'll be all right. And then I decide to eat one bite, and that becomes the slice, and then I might come back a few minutes later. So again, it's something that it's taken a long time to develop. In, you know, when you think about it, people are like, just put that pizza out. We're ready to eat this pizza. But the thing is like, we're kind of reluctant to roll out something that we're not 100% behind. I think that's something that we really like. That's a standard that we uphold, is that we're not going to just roll this out. And you know, I want it to be the best pizza, you know, or the best X, whatever it is that we roll out. It's really hard, you know, to put your name on something that you're not proud of. So like, that's part of, you know, like why sometimes things take longer, you know, in my opinion. So.
And I'm about to ask you invasive questions because that's just what I like to do. So what part of the tinkering and fine tuning are you on right now? Is it the dough? Is it the sauce? Is it what part's holding you back from releasing this?
The kitchen, the size of the kitchen, and my oven. That's really the holdup, and we probably will be able to serve some this week. It's just going to have to be a limited number. I mean, there's just no way I can work around that right now as far as just a space limitation. But when we talked about like the testing, I mean, I've tested the dough, and I've been making Detroit style pizzas for probably about 4 or 5 years. But I started like seriously like, okay, we can do this in this restaurant, like Jordan said, about March of last year. I wasn't getting the doneness on the bottom that I wanted. So there was Forge Ironworks in the plaza last year. So I went down there and said, hey, I've got this baking steel at home that I use that I put in my oven, that I put my, pan on, get it to about 500 degrees. So it's going to cook my bottom a little bit better. Can you fabricate something for our oven here that I can use that's going to give me the same effect? He's like, oh yeah, we can do that. So I had that made locally by somebody in the Plaza District.
Nice.
And so it fits, it slides into our oven. So we've messed with that. I messed not just with the dough, but with how much dough per pan. Anywhere from 11 ounces to 7.5 ounces. Went back and forth on
How
trying.
fluffy do you want it?
Exactly, because some people like Jordan don't want a deep dish thick pizza, and so I've kind of created the perfect amount of dough to use. Messed the sauces, making the sauces, and we're making a vodka sauce it's just outstanding on the pizza.
Of course, you would say that.
Yes, of course I would. Hey, if somebody I once heard on a podcast said, if you're not going to promote yourself, then who's going to promote you? So yes, it may be. I mean, some people may say it's the best. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't know who they are.
But it is
Anonymous sources.
all the people who have eaten this pizza, which we have run some tests. I'll make a batch of dough, so it's 20 pizzas. So I'll make 20 pizzas, and certain customers that are in that have, hey, when you're going to get that pizza? Well, I can make you one right now. So I have made some for some test groups, but normally traditional Detroit style, they're going to ladle that sauce on top like a racing stripe, but we didn't feel like that was the best application. It didn't round out the flavor the way we wanted it to, so we don't layer ours on top. So if there are purists out there, I do know the correct way, but this is the best way. So yeah, I mean, and also the nuggets were another thing that came out of the pandemic. We messed with that for 3 or 4 months, and finally we came up with the right flour seasoning, the right marinade. And the nuggets were born out of that. So there were some things that we were able to achieve with that dining room closed, because since we are so small, it's very hard for us to work in there while we're operating, because there's just not a lot of room and you're kind of on top of people. So there definitely were some good things that came out of that.
Oh man, yeah, a lot of opportunity to brainstorm and get some creative juices flowing.
Absolutely.
Because really, as a somebody that that runs a restaurant, probably a lot of limited free time to have that space, right? To test things.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about that Detroit pizza now. I mean, you've probably seen this obviously happen. At some point, it was really hard to find a Detroit style pizza in Oklahoma, and I was just like, when is that going to come here? Because that's like my favorite style of pizza, because that crust that the cheese forms is just, you can't replicate that.
Yeah, caramelizes around the edges. Yep. It's so good.
So good. But now, there's tons of different ones popping up. We're going to have to do a Detroit style pizza tasting.
For sure.
We'll just go around and just hit up all those spots.
You can do a Detroit style pizza food tour.
Oh, hey.
Oh, there you go.
I see what you did there. Oh, man. I can't wait to try that, because if you've paid as much attention to that as your burger, I'm sure it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You guys are putting in a lot of heart and a lot of, just that work into that creative process.
Yeah, and ultimately, nobody's going to have as big a heart as you, as when it comes to your business. So, for us, that truly is, it's all about the heart and caring more than anybody else, and just having, a high standard of excellence. For me, I want every burger to look like the burger that it looked like at the photo shoot, and I would say 99% of the time when I'm seeing those burgers go up in the window from the kitchen, that's what they look like. So it's not going to be a fast food situation where you see a picture that it looks like one thing, and then you show up to the restaurant and it looks like something else.
Yeah.
Be like, wait a second. That's awesome. So why did you all pick Plaza District as your flagship store?
I guess I'll start on this. I knew the building owner for probably the last 30 years. So I remember when she bought the property, and at the time she was going to convert it into kind of an urban condo type living situation. And at one point in time, there was going to be a food catering operation that they were going to run out of there, but that ended up falling through, and it was Collected Thread, which really did a lot, for the Plaza District, to get people down there for retail. So whenever Collected Thread left, we weren't, there like waiting to take this over. There were actually a couple other people that were, had options to lease that space that fell through. And then I just asked Tarina, who owns the building, hey, what about a restaurant? She's like, yeah, sounds good. So that's how we ended up in the Plaza. But since I've known her since she bought that building, and that was before, Saints and the Mule and all those places were down there. It was in its infancy of kind of starting to turn around a little bit. It was great to actually have the opportunity to be a part of the Plaza because it's such a thriving district.
Definitely a good spot. Definitely a good spot. What do y'all think? Kitchen sink? Should we throw this at him?
Let's do it.
So we're just gonna ask you some questions, easy questions, and kind of see what you think.
Sounds good.
All right. So first thing, since we're all talking about burgers, well, we kind of already discussed this, the optimal blend for the burger. But what's your take on an optimal blend? Are you similar in the thinking?
I think, especially for me, it's got to be it's the fat content, like kind of was already mentioned. There was one, you guys asked about, eating at the restaurant. How often do we eat at the restaurant? I still like to go home and make burgers. I have a flat top at home too. And I can eat, that's one food that I can literally eat almost every day. But one that I like to do at home, and I don't know if they still have it around, but Peach Crest Farms used to do a dry aged ground beef, and I loved making burgers with that. And it just sounds cool, like I'm using dry aged ground beef, And so I think that is an excellent product, that you can used to be able to get at Uptown. But yeah, I loved using that to make burgers at home. So
I had a dry aged burger in New York. It was at the Brindle Room. And they used a dry aged meat and, blended in the fat themselves. And it was a very simple burger, cooked on a cast iron, cheese, caramelized onions. That was it. Man, that was so good because they paid attention to, all the little things. So dry aged meat, I'm going to have to try that. I've actually never made a burger with that.
And Peach Crest, is that a local
I think
farm?
so. And I'm disappointed. Like I said, the last few times that I've went to look for it, I wasn't able to find it. And so, I don't know. So if anybody out there knows where to get Peach Crest dry aged beef, hit me up because that's my favorite to make burgers with at home.
Uptown, get them back.
Yeah, that's right.
Uptown, get them back. That's funny.
So what is here's another rapid fire question for you. What's an absolute must as far as toppings for you on a burger? Absolute must. Have to do it.
You gotta have cheese. There are people, and I'm gonna probably make some enemies, and I would never ever tell a guest, hey, I don't, But people order hamburgers, and unless you have a dairy allergy or have a, ethical reason not to eat, dairy products, you've got to have cheese on that burger. We say cheeseburger, and I'm like, when people say no cheese, they're like, oh, you mean hamburger? And it has its place, maybe in 1921 or something, but not. I gotta have that cheese on there.
In
1921.
I don't know. I just picked an arbitrary.
How about you? Do you have a
Cheese? 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
When you, like you said, you eat burgers all the time. When you're eating at a new spot, how do you judge the burger? Is there a baseline setup that you get, or are there particular things that you look for as you're kind of evaluating this burger and being like, that was good, that wasn't?
I mean, now that we do it ourselves, I mean, you do kind of look at it from a different perspective. But I try not to be too overly critical because everybody has their own version of what they think their burger should be.
Mm-hmm.
We serve our burger the way we serve it because that's the way we think it should be served. So I was at a place recently that I was kind of judging it a little bit, I guess I should say. And just by seeing the products that they had out that you could see, and I just kind of thought, oh, it's kind of a shame that these people they're kind of skimping on the bun, and I can tell this beef is not the best. But there are a lot of good burgers around, so not to disparage any place.
Oh,
but
right.
it just kind of, I was looking at it from a perspective that I probably wouldn't have 2 years ago.
And saying judging it sounds harsh, but like evaluating it, right? Be like, is this a good burger? Is this for me? Is this not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly now try not to eat a lot of other burgers. Like, I mean, I think it has changed. Like, it hasn't like made eating out less fun or trying new food less fun. But yeah, it's hard to turn off that work brain. And it's like people like, and I think about this too. Like, I can't wait to see people I know come into the restaurant, and I love to chat with guests. But like when my family members are like, "Hey, let's go eat at New State," I'm kind of like, that's like going to work, right?
Yeah.
And so like now, so I'm gonna associate that burger with work. But I will have to give props. Like I was suckered into Arnold's in Tulsa with their big billboards. I mean, that's a great. Like you talk about kind of a pared down menu. I think Arnold's is great. So like I'll make the drive. I'll exit off the highway to get that Arnold's burger. So, but yeah, I try not to. Like I said, I don't. And maybe if I was in another city, like if I was like a different place, like I would do it. But like locally,
You try to avoid it.
yeah.
That makes sense. Don't want to be oversaturated. So one more rapid fire question. How do you guys love to eat your fries? What's your favorite way to eat your fries?
Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna have to take a play out of Josh's playbook and say that gravy, man. Like when I'm like sometimes when I need like a little pick me up snack at the restaurant, like it's not always fries. Christina, I'll do the tots too, but and I think they're equally the star of the show. I mean, we use the same seasoning on there, but it just kind of provides a little different texture. I just put that brown gravy on there and eat it as a snack. But of course, I'm a big fan of ranch. Like I call it American dressing. That's like American dressing. I mean, every other country gets their dressing. We might as well make ranch, or it could be Oklahoma dressing.
I think that's as close as you can get to a national dressing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do y'all make your ranch in house? I'm assuming you probably do. That's probably a silly question, right?
A house garlic ranch.
Ooh.
I like my fries with our cheese sauce.
Okay.
So it's just, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and it's hard to understate it. It's just, like I said, it's made fresh and it's just delicious.
I've got to try this now.
I know.
I wasn't thinking straight.
Have you tried the cheese sauce on the burger?
I came in.
Yes. So we ran the Burger Madness promotion back in March, where people got to create their perfect burger. We put it into a bracket, ran it on Instagram, came to a winner, and the winning burger was called the Nicholas Rage, and it had grilled jalapenos, grilled onions, and our cheese sauce and waffle fries on it. So yes, there are times where we'll put that cheese sauce on a burger.
Nice.
A side note, you had told me about this competition when we were chatting at New State or at your office, and I was just so mad I missed this. I was like, how did I miss this? This sounds like so much fun.
Year or
Yeah,
last year?
it was this year. Which, I mean, we had a great response to it, so it's definitely going to be coming back, and so people have a year to think about what burger they want to submit for the Burger Madness. I hear Nabil has a little burger action in his past, so we're looking forward to his submission next year.
What? I watch me submit and then just not go anywhere. Be like, well, I tried.
Just like we said earlier, we're the selection committee, so
This has to have a creative name. The creative name.
A name will take you, man. A name will take you there.
Okay, creative name. All right, I gotta think of
no pressure.
a fun name. I know, right? No pressure. We'll do a quick cycle of different cuisines. We'll skip the burger one. I had a favorite burger other than New State, but since you said you usually don't go out for burgers, we'll skip that one. But
I'll give you a favorite burger.
okay,
The fried onion burger in El Reno at Robert's Grill.
Roberts. Okay,
Nice.
There are other places that sell onion burgers there that may get more notoriety now, but it's the original. It's the best.
so Roberts is the
Robert's.
original. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
I was under the impression it was Sid's.
Yeah.
But that's what you hear more
That's
about,
what
right?
the newbies say.
Oh.
Oh.
I just,
No,
you know what? This is it for this episode. I just got called.
We'll never be invited back.
I have to tell a story. So, the Sid's Burger got named one of the top 5 burgers in America.
Mm-hmm.
And so my brother goes into Roberts and tells Ed, who owns Roberts, he's like, hey, Ed, I saw that Sid's got named the best burger in one of the top 5 in America. And he's like, huh, they're not even the best burger in this town.
Oh.
But Sid's is
burn.
great. I will eat Sid's. Sid's actually has really good fries, but Roberts is where I go for the burger.
Okay. I'm after.
Nice.
I haven't tried either one of those
Yeah.
places, so
Another day trip, for sure.
yeah, gonna have to try that. All right, favorite pizza.
I mean, I came with an answer. Recently, Fairweather Friend, we went there and tried their Neapolitan-style pizza, and I'm a sucker for that style. I love the almost like, not char, that's like, that may bring a negative connotation, but just some of that, like, the really doneness of that kind of wood fire oven. I mean, to me, it's hard to beat that flavor. And like Tyler mentioned earlier, I like the thinner crust, and so like I could hurt myself on those pizzas. So yeah, I would totally recommend that to anyone in town.
Is that in Oklahoma City or?
It is, and they have a brewery with great beers and one of the the best seltzer I've ever had in my life. And I have been trying to like seltzers for a long time.
I've been
If
trying to like seltzers.
People bring them in. I'm just like, I want to understand this. I want to understand what makes people drink these at the lake. And Space Snacks, it changed my perspective. I'm like, oh, this is
Cool.
really good. And we do have it on a New State right now. So if you want to come try
nice.
it, it's delicious. It's made with like a banana puree and tang. And it is crazy. And like I said, it literally changed my opinion. Like, I love when something like I'm like, wow, this is the spirit or this beer or whatever. It
Like
just
surprises
changes.
you.
Yeah. I'm like, I love to have a new favorite something.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it for me right now.
Nabil, write it down.
This is the part of the show where I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Space Snacks.
I go with Hideaway Stillwater for the pizza. It's just the Hideaway in Stillwater hits a little different.
It's
the
classic.
original.
You-
Yes.
You
Uh-huh.
have to specify which Hideaway because
It's-
There's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's so that's my best pizza.
Okay, nice.
Cool.
Both solid choices.
Favorite taco?
I've got some friends who own the Fuzzies, so I definitely like the Fuzzies tacos.
Okay.
But something I kind of like to eat once a week is the Big Truck breakfast taco, the tall twin with steak with one OMG
Yes.
sauce. I just love it. I think it's just the perfect
So good.
perfect taco.
All right, I have come to love the tacos at Oso, and the asada taco with the salsa matcha. I mean, it's that salsa matcha. I didn't even know what that was, and like one time recently, I was like, hey, can I have some extra to go? And then started like looking into like, I'm gonna make this salsa matcha at home. I mean, so like if it inspires me to like want to go home and do it, I mean, that to me that's a great taco. So.
Nice.
Awesome. Salsa matcha. Do you think they use like matcha, or is it like?
So I looked up the recipe. I think it's like I don't know if they're using dried chilies or canned, but it's chilies, garlic, peanuts, and sesame seeds and oil. And it doesn't create like a salsa like what I think I would normally think of like, hey, I'm gonna dip chips in this. It's almost more of a paste, but it's like really richly colored, like it's dark because of the chilies and stuff. And so like to me the whole thing is just kind of, it almost feels a little exotic. You know, it's like a little different.
What
And
kind of chilies do they use?
I'm not sure what they use. I looked up some recipes and I I can't now. You put me on the spot. Like I've looked this up a couple times, but I think it's just different dried chilies, like maybe a bowl or something like that. It's a really like I said, it's like a dark, almost
smoky,
like maroon, yeah. And like I said, there's a little bit of heat to it, but not like overwhelming, which I love. Hot too. But
I bet those sesame seeds add a lot of dimension to it. Oh, so good.
So,
favorite French fry?
Man, other than New State's French fries, like I'm a sucker for. I like Patty Wagon's fries. Also like the seasoning that the mule puts on their fries. So almost has like a garam masala type flavor. So I think that's like a unique fry.
I don't think I've ever tried the fry at Mule.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I have to try that.
I know I can't say New State, but
I know that's why I was like, other than New State.
yeah. I too like Patty Wagon. I like their burgers too, but their fries are super good.
I like Patty Wagon's bun.
Yeah, got a little sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Favorite spirit?
I'm a bourbon guy, so I like the little bit of sweetness in that bourbon, which I kind of figured out what puts that over the edge of Scotch for me is bourbon. But lately, really been into mezcal. There's just so many different expressions and different kinds of agave that are sourced for different types of mezcal and just how it's done, and it's really just it can be really complex and just delicious.
Other than Space Snacks, Seltzer.
Yeah.
What spirit?
I'm a huge rum lover. I think there's a really unfortunate like perception of that spirit category, and it's one of the most diverse and rich categories. We actually got to meet with some people today that have a wonderful book of rum spirits, and like I said, it's more. I won't, like we've talked about, I won't deride any brands, but like household names that you're thinking of that you've had a bad experience with, man, just come hang out. I'll let you taste any of my rums. Like I would do anything to get people on board with drinking more of that. And I'm a huge bourbon fan too, but I just think it's just like it's the widest spectrum for me of spirits. So
I can think of two good rums, which because I grew up in Bolivia, and Cuban rums are really popular down there. Ron Abuelo is one of them. And then another one because one of my friends is from Nicaragua. I think it's either from Nicaragua or Colombia, but it's called Flor de Caña.
Yes, that's
Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that one too.
Pretty sure. Yeah, like I said, I think people need to experience it. Like there are bourbon adjacent, whiskey adjacent. There are some that will like have an earthiness and a brininess like mezcal. And that's what's crazy is like you can like I want to like take the challenge. It's sort of like when I had someone said today that it's like saying like sandwiches. Like it's such a broad category.
Yeah.
Or like
What do you mean?
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. And so I think if you're into drinking spirits, like I think there's a rum out there for that person. So like I would challenge you to find that, like if you're listening and like other spirits, like give rum a chance because it's a super cool category.
Nice. What is your current favorite restaurant other than New State?
I mentioned earlier, like I can't get enough of Oso. So I love the vibe. I love the interior is really pretty. And so like, we've had people come into town and that's where I've taken them lately. It's just a fun place. So like when and it's one where I feel like I'm not like I'm enjoying that eating experience again. Like kind of we talked about, like it does take a little bit, to like relax and get into like not saying, hey, I see how many people are working back there and how did they bring us the menu? You know what I mean? Like it becomes this like constant like analysis of things, and that's one where I feel I can kick back a little bit and just enjoy hanging out there. So.
Because now you've done the analysis, you know the operation.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about that.
See how many people you got back there in that kitchen, but I just can't resist. It's
They didn't hand me that menu the right way.
Yeah. No, they give me they give you the menu the right way. And they're super good people there. So yeah.
I mean, I'd say my favorite restaurant is Red Rock. I just think that, I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it's as good today as it was when it opened. Another one, I feel like their menu is not super huge, but everything on it is executed perfectly. The service is great. I've always enjoyed that restaurant, and honestly, after thinking about, what's my favorite restaurant? Like I love to go to the ranch, but that's just kind of a different occasion to go to the ranch. I mean, the ranch steakhouse is as good as any steakhouse in America. I mean, I've been to Luger's, I've been to the steakhouses around America, and the ranch is up there as good as any. But as far as just a great favorite restaurant, I'd go with Red Rock.
Nice.
And the view doesn't hurt.
Absolutely.
Right.
Not at all.
Yes.
Their margaritas, pretty good.
Awesome. As we wrap this episode up, tell our listeners where they can follow and show you some love.
We're at New State Burgers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and they can find us in the Plaza District at 1705 Northwest 16th Street, basically Blackwelder and 16th Street.
That's the best way to show some love is show up, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Show
Come
up,
see us.
get a burger.
Yeah, you will not be disappointed. And while you're out there following New State online, follow the OKC Foodcast at OKC Foodcast on Instagram and Facebook, and leave a rating, 5 stars or don't bother. And
Yes,
Dang,
preach.
Bill.
and
It's hard to run a restaurant. It's easy to leave a bad review, but come run a restaurant. Leave that 5-star.
Man.
Because we do strive for that. I mean, we want everybody to have a great experience.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
really,
sure.
like, we care. Like, that is what we want people to know, that we do care. And if you have a bad experience, just talk to us at the restaurant. Like, 100%. Like, we will address it. We'll take care of you. We'll make it right. Like, we're all approachable, and we want that feedback in person, not from a keyboard.
right.
Yeah, for
Don't,
sure.
go,
Because
don't go to Yelp first.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in that way, and plus then you would know, be like, oh, that maybe shouldn't have happened. Right?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
you know how to fix it even going forward. So
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a really good point. And I mean, a little word on reviews and ratings. I mean, it's become so skewed now that if you have anything less than like 4.5, you're just like, what's wrong with this place?
Did Uber make us feel that way?
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
totally
I think it
did.
did.
It totally did, because Uber was all about, if it's not 5 stars, there's something wrong. And I don't think that's a correct way to think about things, but
No.
it is what it is. So
Yeah. It's a human connection. I
Yeah.
think it's okay to say something, if there's something that you don't like or something you felt like was a little off, it's okay. You're not really confronting, you're just bringing something to their attention. It's only for the betterment of the place, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not going to be confrontational. Like I said, we're going to address it and make that person feel welcome and make, them feel like their comments are valued.
mhm. Yeah. So leave us a comment, leave us a review, email us,
See, she messed it up too.
it's
Nabil.
tough. It's tough.
send us a message on Instagram and on Facebook.
That's right.
You can also get a hold of us on our website, okcfoodcast.com. We got a bunch of brand new information up there, so make sure you check that out, as well as find out information of all the restaurants that we featured, as well as chefs that we featured over the last couple of years. So leave us a comment there and find out more information at okcfoodcast.com.
That's right. And until next time, eat well and be happy.